Good evening. If everyone could take their seats, please, that would be wonderful. How are you this evening? Okay, I think I heard about 20 people. I see more than 20 in the congregation. How are you this evening? My name is Reverend Dr. Tab Quincy Heatley. I had the esteemed pleasure of serving as the pastor, the 12th pastor of this wonderful, illustrious church called the Shiloh Baptist Church of Alexandria, Virginia. Just want to give you a few words before we get into our program. Many of you know that it was in 1865, actually on June 19th, that General Gordon actually came and read General Order Number 3, telling the people of Galveston, Texas, that slavery has ended. Of course, that was some 2.5 years after Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st of 1863. And so we know last year President Joe Biden signed into law the official holiday celebrating Juneteenth, which is why we are here today. One of the reasons, amen? Here's another piece of history. We're here for the celebration of the reopening of the Freedom House. We're grateful to the city of Alexandria for making that so, because it is a very important piece of property when we think about the history of America, and certainly the history of Alexandria. Here's why Shiloh Baptist Church and the Freedom House is so important. Many of you may know that Price and Birch, which was one of the largest slave trading companies in the United States, was held on the grounds of where the Freedom House is now. When the Union Army, of course, this is in your program, when they seized control of that complex, it became the L'Ouverture Hospital, which was a hospital for Union soldiers. It was on March in 1863, approximately 3 months after the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation, 50 former Union soldiers who happened to be African Americans founded the Old Shiloh Society. The Old Shiloh Society is now known as the Shiloh Baptist Church. And although our historic sanctuary sits on the western side of Duke and West Street, the original church that was founded in L'Ouverture Hospital and the first church before it was burned down was founded on that same block of where the Freedom House is now. We also have some affordable housing known as Beasley Square that sits on that corner. So there's a deep connection that we have with the Freedom House. And of course, we know the laws of our nation historically, but I thank God for the inner law that comes from the Spirit of the living God, who although they may be a law that says someone is not free, because of their minds and their mentality, they lived free. And we celebrate them and their heritage, and we pray that the ancestors will be pleased with our offering even as we celebrate this occasion. So can we celebrate our ancestors? Amen? Come on, our ancestors, amen. I say our ancestors, not just of African American descent, but the ancestors who have just as much a right to everything in this country, because they, alongside with other men and women, but in particularly those individuals, built this country with their blood, with their sweat, with their tears, and they gave their life. Sure that they would be happy for a day like this, when all of us can gather together in the house of God to celebrate such a momentous occasion. Our program will follow as you see it outlined in your program. We will begin with what I feel is one of the most angelic voices you will ever hear. Those are the voices of the Shiloh Baptist Church Mass Choir as they lead us in our opening hymn, Let Every Voice and Sing. Can we please stand to our feet and sing along? God bless you.
Till Good evening, everyone. My name is Justin Wilson, the mayor of the city of Alexandria. I want to welcome you all here. Thank you, Reverend Heatley. I feel like you have, can you hear me? Really? Wow. All right. Can you hear me now? All right. I said, my name is Justin Wilson. I'm the mayor of the city of Alexandria, Virginia, and I am pleased to welcome you all here. I do feel like Reverend Heatley has set me up by having me follow the choir. That was not fair, I believe, but it is great to be here and see all of you here. Let me first of all thank you, Reverend Heatley, for welcoming us here to Shiloh again. We thank you for your hospitality, but more importantly, as you noted, there is a historic tie to Shiloh and the property across Duke Street, and we celebrate that history, that rich legacy that continues on to this day. All of you are very, very special people, but some of you are even more special than others, and I do want to note a number of folks who are here in the room. I do not have a list, which means I'm flying blind here, but I'm going to try to make sure I get everyone. We have a number of my colleagues from the City Council here. We do have my colleague, Councilman John Chapman, who is right over here. Now he's moving. He's walking around. We have Council Member Sarah Bagley, who is here as well, right over there. Are there any other members of the City Council that I missed? Ah, there we are. We have Councilman Kenneth Aguirre over here. We have a number of members of the General Assembly who are here, two of which represent exactly where we are standing. We have Senator Adam Ebbin, who is here, right over here. We have Delegate Elizabeth Bennett Parker, who's right over here. We have Delegate Dolores McQuinn. Where's Delegate McQuinn? Oh, there you are. We have Delegate David Bulova. We have a number of former elected officials who are here. We have my predecessor, former Mayor Allison Silberberg. We have former Mayor Bill Ewell. We have former member of City Council, Frank Fannin. Who did I miss now? We have our sheriff, Sean Casey, right up here. We have our city manager, Jim Parajan. We have our former city manager, who you'll hear from later, Mark Jinks. All right, I think I got everyone, right? Oh, good. All right, that's good. All right. Let me, first of all, thank our OHA staff for all of their tireless efforts. First of all, the incomparable Audrey Davis right here on the stage. Our director, Bulova, where are you? Gretchen Bulova, right over here. We know that this is a passion for all of you, for all the OHA staff, and we appreciate all of your hard work that you pour into this. This is not just another work assignment for you all, and we appreciate all the work that you do every day. I do want to recognize, we're going to hear later from Dr. Maxwell from the Northern Virginia Urban League, who is here. Dr. Maxwell is right up here in the front. And I want to particularly note the Urban League participating in this event because we are inheriting the torch. We are taking the torch from the Northern Virginia Urban League in stewardship of this property. And I will say, and we were talking about it a couple minutes ago, that it was a challenging process as we worked to do that handoff. It was not without bumps in the road. Over the last several years, as we worked first of all to stabilize the financial situation, and then ultimately to take on ownership of this property. But I think the reason that there were bumps in the road is the Northern Virginia Urban League was firmly committed to making sure that the next owner of this property was as committed as they were to interpreting this history, not just at a moment, but in perpetuity. And as the mayor of the city, I feel a special obligation, a sacred obligation, to ensure that this property is publicly accessible, to ensure that we tell this history to generations to come. And so I want to make special appreciation of the Urban League's partnership as we went through this process. I want to thank Delegate McQuinn for being here today and being a part of this event. We are so privileged to have you here, and we are so privileged to benefit from your leadership in Richmond, in ensuring that a broader view and a broader collection of our history in the Commonwealth is told. And so we are appreciative that you are here. I note that yesterday we were gathered, many of us in this room gathered at historic Douglas Cemetery, not too far from this site. And we were talking about the work that was left to do to ensure that that neglected cemetery is restored back to the honor that it deserves to the folks that are buried on that site. And I note the work that you have done in Richmond to ensure that so many cemeteries, not just Douglas, but so many cemeteries around the Commonwealth that have been neglected for generations through history are given the honor they are deserved. And so thank you very much for being with us, and we look forward to your words today. You know, if you look in your program, you will see that on the back it says, the museum seeks to reframe white supremacist history. We have put a weighty obligation on the work that we are doing here at this property across the street at the Freedom House Museum. We have taken on an obligation that is extraordinarily weighty, and it is an important obligation. You know, you can trace a fine line between what happened in the marketing of enslaved individuals across the street, and you can trace that fine line in the tumult that we saw in Reconstruction, the challenges and opportunities and revolution of the Civil Rights Movement, the Kerner Commission, all the way to the challenges and inequities that we deal with today in our community, the inequities that we deal with in education, the inequities we deal with in wealth, the inequities we deal with in health, the inequities we deal with in the criminal justice system today. All of that can be traced to what occurred across the street. But I think we also know that for many, it is not just a historic site. This is not just another historic property that the city has taken on. Just like millions of Americans can trace their origin to Ellis Island and can track their history, the history of their family to Ellis Island, millions of Americans can trace their history, can trace their family and their ancestors to those who were trafficked across the street, across Duke Street from this location. And that's why for us, this is not just another historic property that we are taking on. It is a sacred obligation and a continuation of the work that we have done here in the city to tell a broader perspective, a broader view, a more inclusive view of our history, to ensure that every Alexandrian, every Virginian can see themselves in our history, in the history that we tell and we interpret, not just across the street at Freedom House, but all around our city. And this is not a new obligation that we have taken on for ourselves. You know, if you open a book to the 10th chapter and you just start reading, there's a lot of the story that you missed. A lot of the story that happened in those previous 9 chapters that explains what is happening in the 10th chapter that you missed in those previous 9 chapters. And our job as a city, our job in the Office of Historic Alexandria, our job as a community is to ensure that we tell all of that story. It's not theoretical that in order to understand the challenges that our nation faces with race, we must critically examine that history. It's not necessarily a theory, but we must critically examine that history in our community. Our city is up for that challenge. I went across the street today and toured the museum again, and they were busy, very busy, as Audrey knows. There was a line. Folks were getting kind of overwhelmed with all the people that were lined up, which was great. And what I saw members of the community that just took it upon themselves to start guiding people around the building. Because we accept that this is our history, this is our story that we need to tell. And this is a community-wide effort. And so I'm proud of the work that we have done so far in this city. I'm proud of the work that we will continue to do in this community to tell this story and tell a broader view of this history. Thank you all so much for being here and being a part of this today. I do want to note a number of folks walked in since I started speaking, and I want to acknowledge them. I see we have Delegate Eileen Fillercorn right over here. We also have School Board Member Michelle Reif, who was positioned right behind the pedestal, so I could not see her, but I now saw her out of the corner of my eye. So thank you all for being here. I look forward to hearing all the great speakers today, and thanks for being a part of this very important community project. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Great to be here with you today. Happy Juneteenth holiday weekend. I still consider this part of the weekend. And I am so excited that we are actually celebrating the fact that we're celebrating the federal holiday is so astounding. When I came to Alexandria in June of 1993, one of my first duties was working the Black History Museum's annual Juneteenth Festival, where we still had to answer many questions about what was Juneteenth and why did we celebrate it. I am pleased that over 25 years later, Juneteenth is being embraced and understood with lightning speed. Of course, there have been missteps like the Walmart Juneteenth ice cream debacle and the school system that offered a watermelon salad as their way of celebrating Juneteenth. But these missteps aside, even with these tone-deaf actions, I am encouraged to see that the message of African American emancipation and the vision that no one is truly free until we are all free is being embraced. Today, freedom is our theme. We celebrate freedom in the memory of the millions of enslaved who never lived to be free. We celebrate freedom for those who were emancipated and worked to make this country great, in spite of what they endured. We celebrate the reopening of Freedom House, a museum that gives voice to those that were silenced in the past and moves the narrative beyond slavery as Black people are not defined by centuries of enslavement. The Freedom House Museum represents historical equity It's not controversial. It represents the truth, or as I call it, BET, Black Experience Truth. And it is what our staff worked for in creating this museum. Our guide was the enslaved, and we worked in creating exhibitions presenting their stories with dignity. And our goal was to be respectful. Today, it is 1 mile marker in the journey of Freedom House, and we invite you to be part of the longer journey with us. Our staff is working to fully restore the building, to create larger, more detailed exhibitions on Black history, and we look forward to engaging with you and hearing your thoughts. Today, I want to thank everyone who worked with us to make this day great, from our mayor and city council, our past and present city managers, our talented staff at the Office of Historic Alexandria, Smith Group, who did our historic structures report, living icon Shirley Lee, who's here in the audience with us tonight, and Arthur Dawkins, who are part of our exhibit on the second floor. And if you don't know Shirley Lee's story, you have to go to Freedom House, but I will tell you that she is the first African-American female certified scuba diver in the United States, and was just elected to the Women's Diving Hall of Fame last year, if I'm correct. And she is a Alexandria icon, so we're so pleased. She is here tonight with her husband, Mr. Lavelle Lee, and he is the Black History Museum's longest-serving volunteer. So, again, a hand for them. I also want to thank our student artists who worked on the exhibit, our exhibition design teams, Howard Rivas Design, Dean Paris Design, and X Plus Design. I also want to thank city staff from General Services to TE&S and Code Enforcement. We thank you all. Finally, I ask you to think about the thousands of people trafficked through this site who were separated from their families forever. Today, we remember them as we celebrate with friends and family here. Having lost my father a few weeks ago on June 3rd, I cannot tell you how much the meaning of family resonates with me. When my father was dying, the doctors would often ask him, they'd come in every day and ask him, "Are you in any pain?" And he would say, "Yes." And they would say, "Well, where are you in pain? Tell us." And he would point across the room to me and my mom and say, "Yeah, they're my biggest pains." And then the doctors would say, "Well, they're your family." And he's like, "Yep, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I love them to death." So today, I want to say, in honor of my dad, I wouldn't have it any other way. I'd like to celebrate Juneteenth with you. Happy Juneteenth. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Dr. Heatley, Mayor Wilson, leaders from our city and from our state, and everyone present in this sacred space. My name is Zaina Azam, and I'm the Poet Laureate of the City of Alexandria. It's my profound honor to add my voice in celebrating the grand opening of Freedom House and marking Juneteenth tonight. I respectfully offer a poem to honor all the enslaved people and their quest for emancipation and freedom. It is titled, Charting Liberation, a Poem for Juneteenth. My poem starts with an epigraph, which is a brief quote at the beginning of a poem that can give context or suggest a theme. The quotation is by Van R. Newkirk II, from an article he wrote as senior editor of The Atlantic. He says this about Juneteenth: "It is the observance of a victory delayed, of foot-dragging and desperate resistance by white supremacy against the tide of human rights." Charting Liberation, a poem for Juneteenth. They besieged the chariot to swing low, the sweet heavenly carriage that would carry them home. They advised each other to wade in the water, to halt the human scent on the trail, elude the dogs of the enslavers. Would God trouble the waters? Would his hand take away the whips and chains, Stop the forced cleaving of husband from wife, of children from their mothers. Juneteenth arrives in our city, and we continue to sing our spirituals like incantations of perseverance, seeking salvation at the river's edge. The songs nurture us in holy places, at commemorations of lynchings, remembrances of ancestors. Juneteenth represents an endurance and a hope coming from our essence, a low murmuration climbing up slowly from the deepest visceral cry of our collective unconscious. This day is a reminder of oppression, of justice undermined and delayed, of 4 million enslaved people and their descendants among us fighting for justice to come down like a cleansing rain. Each of the hours and days and months of the 250 years of slavery is a thread in the warp and weft of a dark cloth weighing down their backs, the unforgivable exploitation woven by one race dominating another. Juneteenth celebrates the steadfastness of people living, loving, resisting, charting liberation, resolute in their vision. Freedom was always part of their radical imagination, the caged bird intoning secret songs about a hearth, a home, a plot of land to grow okra and corn, dreaming of a better life for the unborn. We honor them for their tenacity and fortitude, for keeping their eyes on the prize. They held on. They held on.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about the work that kept Freedom House preserved and open to the public. For I was fortunate to have a front seat or a seat somewhere in many of the rooms where the discussions were held in regards to how we made sure that Freedom House continued, was preserved, and was open to the public. In the city, the preservation, looking at it, and reopening of Freedom House is part of the city's long, ongoing journey towards racial justice and equity. As we see the sordid history of 1315 Duke Street, Alexandria played a key role in the preservation of the institution of slavery, and that, as we know, was a city where segregation, Jim Crow, massive resistance, and racial discrimination prevailed for over a century. But we can also look at the hope and that actions of others brought forward. We look at the pioneers of the civil rights in Alexandria, like the U.S. colored troops who we heard earlier helped found this church, who during the Civil War successfully fought to have their deceased comrades buried with their white counterparts in Alexandria National Cemetery just across the street. We can look at pride at the groundbreaking 1939 sit-in at the Barrett Library, or the legal work of Alexandria and Samuel Tucker to get separate but equal overturned by the U.S. Supreme Court. We can look also to many others who took actions as individuals or as organizations, such as the Brave Secret Seven and their efforts in the 1960s to improve black lives in neighborhoods in the city. We can also look to prior mayors and city councils who created and funded the Black History Museum on Wythe Street, facilitated the construction of African American Park, and facilitated the restoration of Contraband and Freedman Cemetery in recent years. However, the community, we've made progress, but we still have a lot to do. 6 years ago, with a core group of, from the Department of Community and Human Services, a group of city employees from a number of Community and Human Services, other departments started to meet informally to discuss race and equity issues. And in 2017, I made this expanded informal group into a formal part of the city government's work. The group's work resulted in implicit bias training for our senior managers, education of city employees of the city's history in regards to racial discrimination, really kind of help our employees get their eyes open as to the community they were serving. This led in 2019 to the recommendation of the city to hire its first racial and social equity officer. City Council agreed to fund this position and sent a message to all city employees and the community how important dealing with race and social equity was for us to address in the setting of all city policies and the delivery of programs and services. And it was during the same time period, and I think influenced by those discussions, that the city began to partner with the Urban League so that the Freedom House Museum could remain open. The Urban League had pioneered to get the building open and saved in 2008 and had help with a federal earmark from former Congressman Moran. Through that, I was aware of the basics of the history of 1315 Duke Street, but Audrey Davis, and this is one of our just great city employees I've relied on for a long, long time, and we're just so fortunate to have her. She sent me an article. She said, I think you'll be interested in this. It was from the Smithsonian, and it's called Retracing Slavery's Trail of Tears. It's a very long article, but it put in basically all the details that probably most of us didn't know about, and it's important that we learn about. And that, in my mind, that article made it clear that 1315 Duke Street, Freedom House, was a building of not just city significance, not just regional significance, but of national significance, and it needed to be preserved. Its story needed to be told. It was also clear from the City Commission to 2019 building assessment, where we had professionals go and look at the condition of the building, and what they told us was this building needs millions of dollars worth of work. So it was clear that for a nonprofit like the Urban League to take something on, it was basically much akin to an insurmountable mountain. And so therefore, the government, we felt the city had a responsibility as the community to step in, and that, well, we didn't have the $1.8 million that we agreed on as the fair price for the building, to buy the building in hand, but through a little financial engineering, we figured it out and came up with the money and acquired the building in 2020. At the same time, we requested grant monies of $2.4 million from Governor Northam and eventually the General Assembly. And thank you to the members of the General Assembly. I think we have 4% of the House and 1% and a little over 2% of the Senate in this room right now. We thank you very much for supporting that recommendation from the governor. And we now have the beginning. It won't be enough, but we have the beginning of what we'll need to basically get that building in good shape and make sure that it is preserved and its story can be told. We now have a building. It's 8,000. The Post said it was a small building, small townhouse. You know what a small Alexandria townhouse is like. Not very big. This is 8,000 square feet. It goes from Duke Street all the way back practically right to the curb of the alley. And it is a very big building. And so it's going to be expensive to get it in good shape, but it's a grand opportunity for us to be able to have space. And as you'll see, if you haven't been there already, it not just tells the story of the building and the domestic slave trade, but it basically says, what are the next steps in the civil rights process, what happened in Alexandria. And it'll be a place where discussions about slavery, about civil rights, about race and social equity can happen in the community, can be an important tool of educating our youth as to what the history and facts are of this country and what we can do about it. So a lot remains to be done. I want to thank the OHA staff and other city departments that have been working for the last 2 years to get the building in good enough shape we could reopen it, and thank them ahead of time for the hard work that they're going to have to go through to get this building in even better shape going forward. So we look forward to basically now having a great national asset preserved, and we look forward to being able to take full opportunity of it that it presents us in the future. Thank you.
Greetings, Reverend Dr. Heatley, dignitaries, and friends. On behalf of the Northern Virginia Urban League, happy Juneteenth. My name is Dr. Letty Maxwell, and I am the Board of Directors Chair. Mark, I want to first say thank you for explaining the history of this transition. And today we want to talk about the Northern Virginia Urban League and the proud work that is done on the Freedom House and the exchange that is happening today. The Urban League has done its proud work and has had a role in it's played in empowering African Americans and others in the city of Alexandria for close to 30 years. Part of that work involved the development of the Freedom House and the original 2008 exhibition that was presented as a gift from the Northern Virginia Urban League to the city of Alexandria. Most recently, we are proud of the collaborative efforts between the Northern Virginia Urban League and the city of Alexandria that led to this day of joy, the preservation of this prestigious building and the expansion of the museum. In an effort to continue the legacy of building strong communities, we recognize that as the Urban League, it is our duty and responsibility to continue our mission, which is to enable Northern Virginia African Americans to secure economic self-reliance, parity, power, and civil rights. As we forge ahead, there are some key stakeholders I'd love to recognize for their leadership and guidance. Their guidance was held during this, I think probably about 4 years transition from the Freedom House and the League engaging with the city in negotiations. And so at this time, I'm going to ask a few folks to stand. Actually, I would ask if you would come up so folks can actually recognize whose hands were at stake as to why we are all here today. And we will start with Mayor Justin Wilson. Please come up. Mark Jinks, former Alexandria City Manager. All council members, please come on up. Ken Aguirre, Sarah Bagley, John Chapman, Mr. Gaskins, and McPike, if you're in the audience. Audrey Davis, Alexandria Black History Museum, Ms. Gretchen Bolova, and any members that are here from the board for the Northern Virginia Urban League. Let's please give them a round of applause. As we are just reestablishing ourselves, I want to personally say thank you. I want to thank you for allowing us to have a space to educate about our past, talk about where we are currently, and then collectively work together to see where we're going in the future. Without this group here before you, we would not be here. So I want to say again, a heartfelt welcome and thank you.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Bennett Parker, and it's my honor to represent our community in Richmond and my honor to introduce our keynote speaker this evening. Delegate Dolores McQuinn has an impressive career in public service. Her civic involvement began at the age of 14 when she first volunteered on the campaign of a candidate for the Richmond City Council. She was elected herself to the Richmond School Board in 1992, to the Richmond City Council in 1999, and to the House of Delegates in 2009. She is a champion for Virginia's recognition and preservation of Black history. One of her many successful bills this year led to the creation of the Virginia Black, Indigenous, and People of Color Historic Preservation Fund. For years, she has been a champion for state funding for historical Black cemeteries, and her legislation resulted in the creation of the Historical African American Cemeteries and Graves Fund. It was also her legislation that created the Virginia African American Cultural Resources Task Force, of which she served as founding chair. She was also responsible for the creation of Virginia's Commission to Study Slavery and Racial and Economic Discrimination against African Americans. If I named all of her legislative accomplishments, we would be here all evening. But her work also focuses on the pursuit of equity in health, transportation, food access, housing, education, and criminal justice reform. It is an honor to have her with us in Alexandria. Please join me in welcoming Delegate Dolores McQuinn.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And I think it's okay for me to say, because the choir took us to church this afternoon, so certainly honor the presence of God in this house. To Dr. Heatley and to those who the choir, to program participants, my good friend, all of the delegates. I don't want to miss anyone, so I'm not going to call your names this afternoon. And his lovely wife, Gretchen, to Audrey. And I also want to acknowledge my good friend who, Dr. Copeland, who came with me. We drove down earlier today, and so it was a blessing that I didn't have to stir the wheel, as you all know what it is in Northern Virginia coming through here. So anyway, so I thank God for a friend who doesn't mind traveling with me under those circumstances. It's good to be here, and I am excited. I'm so excited about the work that you all are doing here, and how how you're prospering and getting things accomplished that we know in many ways are long overdue. So, but I am again just honored to have been asked. My good friend and seatmate in front of me, and I never kick his chair. I just kind of whisper to him about some things every now and then. But Delegate Bolivar, who is such a wonderful delegate in the House, and we appreciate you, and your wife, Gretchen. Thank you so much. Just for a few moments, I want to talk about, and I did say I was a Baptist preacher, so I wanted to use a scripture just for us to hang our heads on, for a moment. And it's Psalms 78, the 6th through the 8th verses. And it says, so that the next generation might know them, even children not yet born. And then they might also teach their children. Let's teach the good, bad, and the ugly. We are a country in peril as it relates to Americans' history, as it relates to telling the truth. It appears that our emotions continue to keep us bound and subjugated in a posture of ignorance. We can't teach CRT when we're not teaching it. And I've come to the conclusion that it's not CRT, Dr. Heatley, it is Black history that individuals don't want to teach to our children. We must teach the good, the bad, and the ugly. It is said that ignorance is bliss, and 'tis folly to be wise. And so it is inexcusable that is in 2022 that we are still ignorant to some historical truths. Truth that will enlighten us, truth that's legitimate facts, truth that will bring us to a place to better understand one another, to walk together with one another. The telling and the exposing of truth about our nation, about our nation's most horrific crime against humanity. We've got to tell it because if we're ever expecting, if we ever hope to get America healed, and I said America, because one of the things that has happened that in this whole issue of enslavement of Africans, that white America did not understand that they too were affected as much as we were. And so all of us need to be healed, and all of us need to walk together. The truth about a period that we have difficulty discussing, even now. But these are the very things that could be tools that will enable us to begin the process of dismantling these systems and then begin to help us to walk together and not be divided and not be separate, but also to bring about healing and reconciliation. Too often we continue to get filled off of appetizers as it relates to history. We're spoon-fed, just a little here, maybe a shrimp, you know. Every now and then, maybe a mushroom stuffed with something. When so many of us know that after 250 years, America should be serving entrees that will lead us to address the issue of starvation that has left us weak, fragile, and in many ways just absolutely pathetic. Now, I'm leaving here as soon as I'm finished, so don't come looking for me afterwards. We must be intentional and deliberate to tell the narrative, to create the narrative about truth that will equip us with legitimate tools to educate, elevate our status in the world, and most of all, liberate us from the burden and the heaviness of our past. It is heavy. It is heavy. And until we get to the point where we're looking at it from some different lens, it will continue to be heavy. It is befitting that on this second year of this federal recognized commemoration of Juneteenth, that here in Alexandria, the grand opening of the Freedom House Museum is taking place. An effort that you've worked on for many years. And your preservation of this place that held a restless number of souls crying for freedom. The Freedom House history reflects the countless number of individuals that suffered and found themselves shackled and chained and held in captivity as the property of someone else. I can only imagine those individuals that was in the Freedom House, in the slave pen. There were housed there that longed to be free and always had freedom on their mind as they were caged in like birds. The Freedom House museum is what remains as the remnant of a large complex, from my understanding, that was dedicated to trafficking men, women, boys, and girls. The past is ever changing. bringing us to the acknowledgement that everything we had been told may not be the way that things are or were. But if we can look back at the past and glean from the truth, then we're able to move forward in a way that we will be able to encourage, enhance, and inspire others to understand why this work is so important, why it is imperative that people are educated and understand what happened during a period in our time that certainly, as some would say, I wasn't here. But I can promise you, someone's DNA that's connected to you was definitely there. So I commend the city of Alexandria for their extraordinary work in the preservation of this history, of this place of horror for some. I commend you for sticking with it, for continuing to persevere, to make certain that it happened. For far too long, only the pathway to freedom for all Americans is uncovered, unearthed, and excavate that the chains that continue to shackle and restrain us from knowing the truth, that truth that will set us free. This is a way you're on the pathway of telling the truth and helping other generations to know the truth, to understand what truth is, that they may continually pass it on. I'm also proud of the generations that came after me, several of them, because we are living in a time where black young people and white young people are demanding that these books be open. They're demanding that it will not be hidden any longer. They are demanding that the hidden pages of our history will be open so that they would know exactly what happened and why it happened, that they make sure that it would never happen again. They're not going to bury their heads in shame. That shame that has kept so many of us bound and locked up in lies and secrecy and silence and concealment. They want to know the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Juneteenth. Happy Juneteenth, everyone. We'll open the book and reveal on the pages of our past the plight of Black America. The education will come about through those many times when we're celebrating Juneteenth. So many things have happened, and so many tales have been told, and so many people have been recognized. As we have listened to the TV and the radio and people talking about Juneteenth, a day designated on the 19th of June, also known as Freedom Day, Jubilee Day, Liberation Day, Emancipation Day. And here we are celebrating the emancipation of those who have been enslaved for centuries. It is noted in many of the things that I have read about, that once these individuals found out that they were now free, they danced in the streets. It was a jubilant moment for them, even though some of them were reluctant because of fear of repercussion from their masters. But truly, it is a day to reflect on the final freedom under the law, but not final freedom under practice. For generations of enslaved Africans realized that they had been trapped in an ungodly system. Slavery was non-discriminatory practice for African Americans, for this nation, for the laws and policies, and that was securely held and captured them. And the systems where some was being enriched, and enhanced at the suffering of others. Those who believed that white hierarchy and supremacy was the way to go. Slavery, as we all know, created a caste system. One that even today, and one of the speakers said something about it, continue the perpetuation of that system of hierarchy. No, we can't always put our hands on it, but many of us can feel it. Many of us see it, and many of us know what it looks like when it's happening. Our founding fathers promised systems of the pursuit of happiness, pursuit of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. But that system did not work, nor did it deliver for Black America. It was a big business. The institution was horrific, brutal, cruel, a system that dehumanized generations of people for capitalism. The system that economically and politically helped to create an enterprise that profited through its operation and the production of human beings. Everyone gained that wasn't Black. Plantation owners, bankers, farmers, shipbuilders, merchants, all were connected in this industry. Free labor to produce sugar, cotton, and tobacco plantation. And while that was going on during the period of enslavement, if you go 157 years, you still have young Black kids living in housing developments and parents who don't have the resources to get their children educated, and many, many other things that are going on in Black community, and often they're out of sight, so therefore they're out of mind. We've got to tell the story, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We have an obligation to help society to understand, whether it's in Alexandria, in Richmond, in Botetourt, South Virginia, Southwest Virginia, wherever we go, we've got to begin to unfold these truths. We've got to open the books. We've got to expose all that has happened, not to shame anyone, not to pain anyone, but so that the next generation would know the truth. And they won't have to do as many of us have done, always scrambling, trying to understand what that truth is. Some folks said, why do you work so hard doing this work? I lived in Richmond all my life. Born in Richmond, bred in Richmond, and Dr. Heatley would probably be dead in Richmond when it's all said and done. I was an elected official, was involved since I was a young girl in politics, in the community, and social issues. And I had no clue that Lumpkins Jail was down at Shockoe Bottom within often walking distance where I am every day. Once I found that out, and I had an opportunity to walk on the trail, and when I walked on the trail for the first time, it was something on that trail that happened to me. As I've shared with people, I don't drink and I don't smoke those funny cigarettes. But what I found out that I was not the only one on the trail at that spot that I was in on that day. And I was baffled by it for days and maybe even months. And I kept praying. I continued to pray, God, what happened to me? I found myself in deep travailing. I found myself in, at a place where I was just kind of in a circle. And it seemed impossible for me to come out of whatever was going on. And what I was told probably a couple of months later in my prayer, that you didn't choose them, they chose you. And I knew that there was something I had to do, something that I must do. And anyone that's doing this work know it's hard work. It's hard work. It's difficult work. But every time I thought that I could tuck my tail and run, not so. Not so. And so I have been doing this work because I wanted to make sure those ancestors are honored. I want to make sure that they are relevant. I want to make certain that they know. I don't know their name, but I know their experience. But then I want to make sure that the generations that are yet to come, that they would know the story, that they know that they'll be able to know for themselves that they didn't get here on their own. People, there was blood, sweat, and tears. There was hurt and pain. There was enslavement. There was horrific situations that people had to live in and conditions that were beyond anything that any of us could comprehend. We have an obligation to teach the good, the bad, and the ugly. Lumpkins Jail is something that I've been working on for probably 25 years. To build a National Slavery Museum. And I see some representatives from the Smith Group that are here, who they have been working with us as well. But I don't want to just put up a building because someone can say, Dolores, you can leave a legacy. I want those folks to be honored who had walked that trail before Dolores was even thought about. And those young people who are yet to come, they must know this story. And not just a story about black history, a story about Americans' history. And so what the work that I have done, it has all been about how do we preserve this history? How do we tell the story? How do we make certain that we open the books to it and that people will understand the magnitude of what some folks did and that all of us are affected by it. The same thing with the cemeteries. If you ever want to get some insight into history, go to the cemetery and look at the names and look at the dates that they were born and the dates that an individual expired. And then you just think about that and what could they have been doing with that dash that was in the middle. What was going on in their lives at that time? So it is all, once again, about these abandoned cemeteries. The people who, many were on plantations, and they were just left there. We can change this. We can change the weight of these things that have held us down by educating, by telling the truth, by making certain that we are engaging as many people as possible and walking together in this experience. We can create a paradigm shift, a shift that will ensure that the basic rights of all people, not as we remember and honor those of the past, but also look at those who are right among us now and empowering them and helping to eliminate hate and self-destruction, helping to guarantee that people, all people, will have equality and equity and justice. We hold these truths, as they said, to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The words of our founding father. And I don't know about you, but I'm owning those words. And we must hold on to them. Then let us write today a promissory note to the next generation that we will fight to ensure a brighter life for them, that we will pass on our wisdom, including that of our ancestors, that we will create a better communication among all people. We must work together and walk together and learn together. And finally, I have used these opportunities to talk about, and especially as we look at the Lumpkins jail site, to talk about the African American experience and the vestiges of slavery that still impact us today. There was a period of enslavement and then emancipation. Education is what we must continually to find opportunities to do, that generations will be enlightened. And through that, all people will become empowered. And through that empowerment, truth and reconciliation will occur for many people across this nation as we journey together on this matter to create a better world for all people, to create a better community, and to create a better family. Again, it is all about what will we do and what will we leave for the next generation. Stony the road we trod, and bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died, yet with a steady beat, have not our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers sigh. We have come over a way that with tears have been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out of the gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our star is cast. Let us celebrate Juneteenth. Let us celebrate one another, and let us be teachers for a nation that is still trying to learn. We can do it by the work that you have already done, and yet what you will do. God bless you, and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Delegate McQuinn. That was amazing. Thank you again. Today, we honor the thousands of enslaved men, women, and children who were trafficked through 1315 Duke Street to New Orleans, Louisiana, and Natchez, Mississippi. We will honor them with the reading of 202 names from the first manifest of individuals transported from Alexandria to New Orleans aboard the brig United States on October 2nd, 1828. These 202 individuals were mostly between the ages of 12 and 25. They were fathers, mothers, sons, and daughters. Nearly a quarter were under the age of 12. Two little girls, Selena and Maria, ages 7 and 11, were sold to a ferry keeper for $500. 10 men, ranging from 21 to 34 years old, were purchased for $6,000 for a sugar plantation. Anna was sold to a merchant who was also the Swedish and Norwegian consult for Louisiana. Another customer was Andre Roman, Speaker of the House of the State Legislature, legislature and future governor of Louisiana in 1830. It is estimated that Franklin and Armfield profited from the sale of these people in just November and December 1828 between $11,000 and $17,000. In today's money, that's $450,000 in 2 months. When you arrived today, you were handed a card with an individual, one of the 202 people who were transported on the brig United States. As we read the names of these individuals, please light your candle. As we read the name and leave it illuminated through the conclusion of the program. Today's guest readers are our local elected officials, some of our historians, members of the Urban League Board, and some of our commission chairs. I ask that everyone step forward at this time to begin the reading of the names.
Armstead, age 26. Page, age 19. Richard, age 24. Elijah, age 22. John, age 21. Sam, age 23. Ripon, age 18. Jerry, age 17. Williamson, age 24. Henry, age 21.
Daniel, age 23. Stephen, age 19. Sam, age 16. Tom, age 17. Charles, age 18. Thornton, age 17. Armistead, age 9. Henry, age 18. George, age 21. And Jim, age 19. We remember you.
Moses, age 25. John, age 15. Thomas, age 22. Jim, age 23. Richard, age 24. Peter, age 25. Robert, age 27. Stephen, age 21. Felix, age 22. Warner, age 12.
Thornton, age 11. Tom, age 33. William, age 10. Moses, age 8. Abram, age 12. Ann, age 20. Eliza, age 16. Sarah, age 17. Millie, age 18. Hetty, age 15.
Lucy, age 10. Elizabeth, age 8. Mary, age 20. Billy, age 24. Nancy, age 17. Maria, age 11. Sarah, age 7. Eliza, age 8. Susan, age 17. Chanty, age 14. We remember you.
Betsy, age 12. Eleanor, age 22. Jane, age 9. William, age 2. Mary, age 18. Lucinda, age 12. Polly, age 27. George, infant. Millie, age 13. Lucy, age 16. We remember you.
Anne, age 30. Eliza, age 8. Henry, age 6. Affy, age 45. Ben, age 22. Tom, age 24. Simon, age 18. Joe, age 21. Frank, age 28. Phil, age 21. We remember you.
Henry, age 10. Stephen, age 7. Harry, age 21. Jim, age 17. Frank, age 13. Henry, age 12. John, age 17. Solomon, age 22. Ned, age 13. Nelson, age 9.
Anna, age 16. Eliza, age 12. Hannah, age 16. Elvira, age 9. Henrietta, age 16. Sophia, age 17. Elsie, age 18. Rasan, age 10. Willis, age 16. Greenberry, age 21. We remember you.
Cynthia, age 22. John, age 5. Henry, age 3. Betsy, age 16. Julia, age 16. Harriet, age 18. Julia Ann, age 2. Elizabeth, age 11. Mary, age 9. Sally, age 7. We remember you.
William, age 23. Jacob, age 24. John, age 23. John, age 28. Harry, age 20. William, age 22. Boswell, age 20. Reason, age 30. Thomas, age 28. Rowley, age 21. We remember you.
Jim, age 20. William, age 14. Charles, age 24. Alexander, age 18. Lloyd, age 9. Uric, age 21. Wesley, age 15. Townshend, age 22. Willis, age 24. Armistead, age 19. We remember you.
Nathan, age 17. Shelton, age 10. Henry, age 13. Marcia, age 16. Charity, age 14. Jane, age unknown. Priscilla, age unknown. Millie, age unknown. Adeline, age unknown. And Katie, age 14. We remember you.
Jacob, age 15. Saunders, age 16. Lewis, age 11. Mordecai, age 20. William, age 16. Adam, age 23. Ben, age 20. Alan, age 25. Sam, age 25. And Rosen, age 22. We remember you.
Eliza, age 17. Delia, age 16. Charity, age 12. Mary, age 12. Mary, age 18. Eliza, age 16. Nancy, age 18. Hannah, age 16. Amy, age 18. Nancy, age 16. We remember you.
Hillary, age 19. Henry, age 23. Henry, age 25. Joe, age 35. Moses, age 21. Dennis, age 15. Charles, age 15. Carly, age 12. Daniel, age 11. Peter, age 10. We remember you.
Malvina, age 15. Dorcas, age 12. Hannah, age 13. Fanny, age 12. Betsy, age 10. Lucy, age 23. Polly, age 30. Harriet, infant. Louisa, age 13. Emily, age 9. Mary, age 22. Lawrence, age 17. We remember you.
Eliza, age 18. Jane, age 15. Ellen, age 22. Sally, age 8. Letty, age 16. Rachel, age 18. Hannah, age 18. Caroline, age 16. Charlotte, age 30. Jenna, age 18. We remember you.
Hampton, age 21. Andrew, age 24. Ben, age 25. George, age 9. William, age 17. Anthony, age 16. Henry, age 15. Bill, age 9. Ep, age 9. John, age 7. We remember you.
Take a look around the sanctuary. Go ahead and look around the sanctuary. I pray that you can feel the spirit of such a solemn moment as this. If there's any parent that's here, imagine you not knowing where you're going, especially on the first of the year. And the thought and the dread of your child leaving you, and you have no power to know where they would land. Your spouse, everything you know is foreign, and all you have within inside of you is a belief that God is with you. That's American history. That's African American history. And when we think about it, well, let me speak for myself as an African American male, it still hurts. It pains. I know I'm free in Christ. I know I'm free in this country. But it hurts. That's why it matters. If I be your brother in Christ, if you're a Christian, if I be your fellow citizen, if you're American, when I hurt, there should be some semblance of empathy within you that says, I care. And so here's the charge. Vote. We can do that tomorrow. That's the first charge. Here's the second charge. See me. See us. See one another. Here's how you do that. When you have a conversation with someone that does not look like you, posture yourself in this disposition with intellectual humility and cultural humility. The intellectual humility is simply because their existential reality speaks of their manner of intelligence. And their manner of exposure may be different from yours. But I promise you that if you see them, you can hear them and understand that they are just as wise, as intelligent as you are. The only difference is the conditioning that has been shaped by the ills of our society. Intellectual humility. None of us know it all. And we're wiser and much smarter when we can hear from one another without judgment, even if there are philosophical differences. That's the first thing. Cultural humility. See them. Understand that the difference is what makes it so beautiful. There is no successful relationship, family, marriage, corporate, civic, that does not have disagreement. And if you are in one, you're in one by yourself. And if you would be honest, you disagree with yourself. There is nothing wrong with having a disagreement. But the cultural humility says, I respect what you're saying, even if I disagree or I am unable to identify with it. If you exercise cultural humility and intellectual humility with whomever you come across, and to my Anglo brothers and sisters, when you see a black man or a black woman and you engage with them in conversation, please do this. I say this in love. Don't study them. Just say hello. See their humanity. If we can do that, I just believe that we can all be really those who will be ready for the kingdom of God to come. Now unto him who is able to do exceedingly and abundantly above all we ask or think, according to his power that is at work within us. To him be glory in the church and in Christ Jesus throughout all generations. Let the people of God say, amen. God bless you and thank you for coming.